Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I'm going to be diving deeper into loops. Right, about 5 or 6 videos ago I talked about loops, which is just an introduction. But in today's video I want to give a deeper explanation about how loops actually work. And to do that I'll use pattern printing. Alright, we're going to be printing out patterns and see how every part of the program connects to each other. So loops are an important part of programming whenever you want to execute a certain part of your program repeatedly. All right. So understanding how loops work will make you a better programmer in so many ways. All right. Now there are two main types of loops in Python. We have the for loop and the while loop. So let's see an example. Let's say for I in range, we want to start from 1 to 5. All right, but of course to stop at 5 we need to offset it by 1, so I'll say 1 to 6, and then we print I. All right, so when you print I now, let's run the program. You get 1 2 3 4 5. All right, now for the purpose of this video, for you to really understand how things work, I want to show you the equivalent of this program in another language, and the other language I'm going to be using is C++. All right, so let's see how this program works in C++. I'll simply create a file. I'll call it main.cc. You can use main.cpp, whichever one you like. So I'll do include. Don't worry if you don't understand C++. The goal is just to make sure I show you how loops work. And personally, I believe languages like loops in C is actually better for explaining loops than in Python. All right, Python is too simplistic and it really omits some of the technicalities regarding how loops work. So when you look at the Python code, we say for I in range. Now this range method gives us a starting point where we stop and the steps we want to take. But of course, we only specified the starting and the stopping points, right? So we say start from 6, we start from 1 and stop at 6. Of course, it stops at 5. All right, and then you print it out. But with loops in C++, you can specify each steps as you want it. So in this case, I'm going to say for int I, you specify, you create a variable, and in C++, we must say the data type that the variable holds, right? So I'll say int I equals to 0. And remember, this video is not necessarily about Python alone. In fact, I'm not going to make it part of the Python for Absolute Beginners playlist, all right? This is about explaining loops generally. So I'm going to be using Python and C++. So now we created the starting point. We specify, we created a variable. We say I should be equal to 0. And what is the condition? As long as I is less than or equal to 5, what should it do? Increment I by 1. So I++. Right? And then we come into the body, we want to print out I. So I'll do I. Alright, so here you have it in C++. Now when I run the program, it compiles and then you have 0 1 2 3. Oh, let me just start from 1. Right? So when you run it, you have 1 2 3 4 5 6. So I don't know about you, but for me, I believe loops in C++ JavaScript is easier. It's more intuitive to explain. So you have a starting point. We declare a variable that holds the amount of time the loop goes. So we say as long as the number of times the loop goes is less than or equal to 5, increments the loop. So the first time I was 1, it prints it out. We went back. I is less than 5, so I++, now I is 2, it prints 2, and so on until it got to 5. So let's see the first thing we are going to do. The first pattern we are going to print is a solid square pattern. All right, so let's print out a solid square pattern. Solid square pattern. So a solid square pattern, for us to print out a solid square pattern, we're going to use a nested loop. All right, so this nested loop means we have one loop inside another loop. All right, so by putting one loop inside another loop, we'll be able to use one of the loops to represent the column and the other loop to represent the row. All right, so let's write our program in Python and see how it goes. I'll create a variable. I'll say n should be equal to 5. All right, and I'll say for I in range of n. All right, now I want to create an inner loop also because we want to nest it. So I'll say for j in range. All right, we also want to use n. All right, so for I in range n, for j in range n, what should happen? We want to print out print asterisk. We're going to use asterisk, and when you print it, we want to stop. So I'll just keep a print outside here. So with that out of the way, we can now run our program and see what comes out. Oh no, this is not what we want. So I'll go back here and say end. Yeah, should be equal to nothing. So when we run the program now, we have a square pattern. All right, so what is going on here? The outer loop, which works with I, for I in range 1 to 5, controls the rows. All right, horizontally. It controls it horizontally. Now the inner loop controls the column. All right, so for each iteration, every single time that the outer loop goes, every single time that I goes, right, the inner one goes the whole time. The inner one goes 1 to 5. Okay, so every single time when I was at 0, j would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then when I moved to 1, j will also go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then when I moves to 2, j repeats the whole thing. So for every once that I goes through it, j goes through the whole thing. All right, so by putting this end here, we're able to put each of this iteration in the same line. All right, so if I do not put it there, let me show you what happens if we don't put it there. Now when I run it, so you see, for every single time we run it, it goes through the entire thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I moves to 2 rather, j also prints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I moves to 3, j 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want everything to be together on the same line to form that solid square. All right, so now when I do end equals this and we run the program, now you get everything put beside each other. So I represents the row, j represents the column. Now how do we write this in C++? So let me go to C++ and I'll just modify this loop to take that. All right, I'll create a variable, call it int n. Right, int n should be equal to 5, and of course I'll put n here. So after every line of program in C++, you want to end it with a semicolon. All right, so inside it we're going to have another loop. So I'll see for int j equal to 0. Let's start from 0 this time around, not 1. So int I equals to 0, int j equals to 0. What should happen? The same thing basically. So we're going to say j less than or equal to n and j plus plus. Excuse me. So now what do we want? We want to print the asterisk. All right, so let's do this cout. Okay, now I'll remove this endline character here. We don't need it. So after it's done printing, right, we stop it here. Good. So now when we run the program, we expect to see the same thing. So we have our solid square. Let me remove this space and see if it's better without the space. No, I'll add the space. I think it's better with the space. So we say starting from 0, all right, as long as I is less than or equal to n, I plus plus. So the very first time that I executed, I was at the first place here. The inner loop we go through the whole thing for every one time that I runs. All right, so when I was equal to 0, j will be equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so j will print the whole column. And then when I is equal to 1, because we're in a loop, all right, I goes to 1 as long as this condition is true. So when I moves to 1, j repeats the whole thing. So it will go from 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so this is how it works. For every one time that the outer loop iterates, the inner loop goes through the whole thing. All right, so let's see how we print out a right angle triangle. So to print out a right angle triangle is a little bit simple. What we are going to do is we still need our nested loop. So I'll just keep this loop. So we'll say 1, I'll do 1. So 1 will be the starting point up to n. All right, so 1 is the starting point up to n. So for j in range I, all right, don't worry, I'll explain what's going on. So for j in range I, we want to print asterisk. All right, so let me put space here. And now when we run the program, we see a right angle triangle. Let me make it a little bit bigger. So I'll say plus 1. So now we have a bigger right angle triangle. Yeah, so now we have a bigger right angle triangle. So now let's break down how it works. For each row, all right, for each row we print I number of stars. All right, for each column we print j number of stars. So the pattern forms naturally because the inner loop depends on I. Remember, we say for j in range I, so the inner loop depends on I. All right, so let's implement the C++ version of this. So I'll just need to perform some modification here. So int n, okay, int j rather should be less than or equal to I. Remember, here we did the same thing. J is based on I, so we also want j to be based on I in the C++. And I think that's the only difference I will need to make, the only change I'll need to make. All right, so now we have a right angled triangle. Good. So the next thing we're going to print out is an inverted triangle. All right, so an inverted triangle is kind of a right angle triangle that is turned upside down. So we're going to say for range I, starting from n, right? So we want to start from n at this point. We want to start from n, all right, and we stop at 0, I think. So we stop at 0, and the step we want to be taking is -1. All right, so j still depends on I, and I think, yeah, that's what we need to do. So when I print now, you see it prints out an inverted triangle. So what is happening here? We say I in range of n. N is the starting point, so I starts from 5. All right, and we say it should stop when it gets to 0. And what is the number of steps? -1. So when I started at 5, and the second iteration, when I started at 5 rather, it prints this the row. Now j on the other hand prints down the column. So when I became 4, because we say it should move at -1, so 5 minus 1 we get 4. I prints the row 4, j prints the rest of the column. Then the same thing happened at 3, then the same thing happened at 2 and at 1. All right, so now let's see how we write this in C++. So in C++, I'll make a little bit of change to this. So instead of starting at 0, similar to what we did in Python, I'll start from n. All right, so int I equals to n. Then I'll say as long as I is greater than or equal to 1. All right, So what should we do? Remember here we said it should minus 1 after every loop, right? So we also want to subtract. So I'll say I minus minus. All right, that's what we want to do. Now in this case also, we want j to depend on I, j plus plus. All right, so that's all we need to change. And now when I run the program, we should have an inverted triangle. All right. Wait, I think I should make this I think I should make this 1. All right, so that we can have a proper inverted triangle. Good. So now we have a proper inverted triangle. All right, so I think the final example we're going to check is a number triangle. All right, so in this triangle we're going to be printing number. The same number will be printed on each column. All right, so to do that we need just the starting and the ending points. So for the starting point, I want it to start at 1, right? And I want it to stop at n. Let's offset it by 1, so n plus 1. All right, we want to stop at n plus 1. Then for the inner loop depends on I, but we also want to specify a starting point. So we want it to start from 1, and then we want it to stop at I plus 1. All right, so it still depends on I, but with some additions. All right. Then what do we want to print? We want to print out the value of j. Remember what we are printing is a number triangle. All right, so the same number will be printed on each column. So we have 1 1 1 1 1, then 2 2 2 2 2, 3 3 4 4 4, and 5. All right, so let's see how we can print this out in C++. So for the C++, it's actually very simple. We still need to perform some changes like we did. You know what, I'll just do it to this one. There's no need to rewrite something else. So for that, I'll say I should be less than or equal to n. Yeah. So as long as I is less than or equal to n, I plus plus. All right, so I plus plus. Then we want j to be equal to, should j be equal to 1 or 0? Let us start from 0, I think. So j equals to 0, j less than or equal to I, j plus plus. Yeah, that's what we want. So, but we want to print j. All right, so I'll put j here because what we are printing is a number triangle. And now when we run the program, okay, there is a problem. All right, so what am I getting wrong? I said I should be equal, no, it should be 1. Well, let's start from 0. Right, so now when I print it out, so we get 0 0 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 3 4 and 5. So we can also do it such that the same number appears on the row, right, instead of the column. And to do that, let me also do it in Python first. So what we are going to do is excuse me, what we are going to do is leave the outer loop as it is. Then for the inner loop, we just need I. We no longer need 1. And then I'll say print I. All right, so what we need to print out now is the value of I. So you see, we get 1, you get 2 2, you get 3 3 3, you get 4 4 4 4, you get 5 5 5 5. All right, so then in C++ also the solution is quite similar. We'll simply say j equals to 0, j less than or equal to I, and instead of printing out j, we print out j, we print out I. All right, so now we have the same numbers on the row instead of column. Okay, so one last thing we're going to print out is a pyramid. All right, so I think that's the most popular pattern we print when printing out patterns for loops. Right, so we don't need a nested loop. I need a single loop, and for that I'll say the starting point is 1. Okay, yeah, I still need n plus 1. All right, so for the print, I'll say print. I want to print an empty space, and I want to print an empty space. Okay, I need to really think about how I'll solve this one. I want to print an empty space. All right, and then I want to multiply it by n minus 1. All right, so multiply it by n minus 1, and of course I want to put this end here. So end should be equal to this empty space. Then I'll print. So now I'll print an asterisk. All right, asterisk. Then we want to multiply it by I. All right, so now with that out of the way, let's run the program. And now you have it. Okay, this is not what we want. Let me see what's going on. N minus I, not n minus 1. All right, so I want to print n minus I. So you see, now we have a pyramid pattern printed out. All right, so let's quickly write this in C++ and we'll be done with it. So I'll say, do we need a nested loop? Well, I think we need a nested loop, but let me remove the, okay, there's no need to remove it. So I'll say for int I equals to 0, as long as I less than or equal to n I plus plus, then I'll say, so in this case we are using space. All right, so let me write space to make it make sense. So I'll say for int space equal to 0, as long as space is less than or equal to n. Right, so space plus plus, space plus plus. Then inside space we simply print out cout empty space. Remember, like we did here. So we print out an empty space. I should put this here. So we print out an empty space, and then we have another loop again. So I'll say for int j, which now represent the asterisk we want to print out, should be equal to 0. All right, and as long as j is less than or equal to I, j plus plus. So we can now print out the asterisk. So we do asterisk. I also want to remove this endline character. So now I'll stop it. So that's all. Now when we run the program, we should see a pyramid pattern. Something is off. So it should be less than n. Okay, less than n. Yeah, n minus 1. So less than n minus 1, not just n. Right, so now when I run the program again, okay, we still have a problem. So what is going on? What is going on? For int I equals to 0, as long as, okay, let's start from 1. All right, not 0. Okay. I think I need to look at what's going on here. So space is equal to 1, space less than or equal to n minus 1. Should it be n minus, no, it should be n minus I. Yeah, not minus 1. So n minus I, right? So when we run the program now, we should get this. So you have a pyramid like we did in Python, right? So that's all for this video. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you learn a lot about loops in this video. If you find it helpful, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.